Hey guys, girls, Kenny here, Ken Small Engine Repair. We have a Troy-Bilt Storm 2620, 26-inch wide with a Powermore engine on it, the Powermore from MTD. Guaranteed it has a torch plug. I'm definitely going to replace that. Says it won't start. So before I do anything, it needs a pull cord and a pull cord handle. He gave me the handle, so I have it. So before I do anything, I'm going to take off that pull start recoil, which is usually 3/8 or 10 millimeter, 3 of them. I'll take that off. I'm going to rewind it. I'll show you that in a minute. But first, I'm going to take that recoil, I'm going to put the rope in it. Then, since it has a torch plug in it, I'm going to take out the torch plug. I'm going to put an RC12YC in it, and I'm going to see if I can get it to start. Because hopefully, it's just something stupid like the torch plug is not starting. I mean, I'm hoping it would be a nice, quick, easy fix if I did that. Then I could change the oil and get right back to it. So let me do the pull start first. I'll be back with you in a minute, and then we'll proceed. Talk to you in a minute. All right, guys, these are actually 5/16 screws instead of 3/8 or 10 millimeters. So let me take these off real quick. Look at that. We got the spring and we got some mouse nest. Holy crap, the whole rewind is all busted up. Wow, I've never seen that before. Holy crap. The whole recoil is all busted up. Springs, plastic, everything. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's got some mouse nest in there and everything else. Wow. All right, let me take this apart and see what it is, but it looks like Mickey Mouse has been in there, and holy crap. All right, let me take it apart and then I'll be right back. Well, this is a new one for me, guys. This starter is blown apart, totally blown apart. It looks like mice got in there and maybe they put insulation in there and it caused it to come apart. You can see the end of the recoil spring is broken off. It's all twisted up, but here's the killer. Look inside there. The fan, the plastic fan that bolts to the flywheel is gone. It's missing. It's all destroyed. And look at the cup for the starter. My God, it's all mangled up. The starter blew apart. The pawls blew apart. I've never seen a starter destroy a fan and the starter cup like this before. Holy crap. He must have used the electric starter and then it must have made a hell of a racket. But man, there's some string in there. It looks like it's part of the pull cord. Who knows? But gosh, look at that thing. It literally destroyed the starter cup. It ripped all the plastic off the fan. I've never seen that. I'm gonna have to take all this apart, take the shroud off, make sure there's no bits and bobs in there and get those out of there. And wow, this is gonna be a lot more than an hour-long carburetor clean. All right, let me look up the parts and take this thing apart and show you what the damage is. But man, this is gonna be a longer video than I thought. This piece of garbage keeps on giving. I figured there's a torch plug in here, so I go to take off the spark plug boot, and it rips out from the inside. Look at it. It broke right off. I didn't even really pull on it. Holy crap, what a piece of garbage this thing is. Oh my gosh. It looks like this thing's been outside. Look at all the corrosion. But man, I've never seen the spark plug boot on one of these just rip in half. All the guts to it. Holy crap. Well, this repair is going to take a little longer than I thought. Now it's going to need a coil. All right, I'll be back. Well, my suspicions were right. It was a torch plug. Doesn't look like it was really running too good either, okay? But this thing, holy crap, it was all busted apart. Look at that, inside this thing here, the porcelain, it was all destroyed, all internally. So what I did, I took the spark plug wire, cut it back. I put a new end on it with a rubber boot, and I put an RC12YC in there. I just want to see if this thing will run. He said he couldn't start it. Well, you know what? With all that was in there, there's mouse nest, there's all kinds of crap in here. I just want to make sure this thing runs. There's gas in it. Let's see if it'll run. I plugged it in. Let's see what we get. Well, we get the inevitable hunting that you get with these carburetors when they're left for a while, so I know the carb needs cleaning. So at this point, I'm going to tell the guy, there's a lot of mouse stuff in here. I got to replace all that. Like I said, it runs so the engine itself is okay, but I got to replace that mangled up drive cup. I got to put the fan in there so we can get some cooling, because right now there's no cooling. And I have to get a whole new starter assembly, recoil starter assembly. So got to call the customer up, let me get some prices, tell them what the news is going to be, and we'll go from there. But I've never seen a starter, recoil starter, blow up like that, where it took out the recoil pulley and all the fins on the plastic fan. I just never seen that before. That's crazy. And also, when I engage this thing, look at that thing is destroyed. That's skid shoe. And he doesn't even have it adjusted to the right height. You can tell on the auger ends, they're all rusty, which means they were touching pavement, which means it wasn't adjusted properly. So a lot of bad things about this Troy-Bilt. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the MTDs lately anyway. These Powermores, yeah, they're decent engines, but what the hell? This guy, I don't know what he did to do that. I've never seen a recoil starter blow apart like that and do all that damage. Unbelievable, you know? I'm afraid to tip the thing up and see what's inside the drive line, the drive disc and all that stuff, but we'll have to do that too. But I'm going to have him come over and take a look. At this point, the fix that I did on the ignition, that can stay. That's not going to hurt anything. You have an insulated boot in there. You got an RC12YC. That's fine. But the whole starter assembly has to be redone. In order to redo it, I got to take all the shrouding and everything off. Gas tank, all the shrouding. So it's going to be a few bucks. So we'll see what the guy wants to do. But at this point, I mean, if he wants to use it as is with the electric start, a little bit of hunting, it'll be fine. But I would recommend that I take it all apart, take all the mouse nests and everything out of it, because, you know, you don't want that thing to catch fire with all the stuff that's in there. Look at what the stuff is in there. There was all kinds of like this hair and stuff. It's like burnt dog hair, it looks like. I mean, so I don't know what the heck. You know, the mice were in there, you know, and it's just, I mean, look at the plug. Look at how rusty that thing is. This thing was definitely kept outside, okay? So, all right, gonna be an expensive repair, but we'll have to do what we have to do. Let's see if the guy wants to do it. We'll be back. Okay, the parts came in for the Powermore engine on that Troy-Bilt thrower. We've got the fan, the starter cup, and the starter. And part numbers here, we've got 951-14151 for the whole starter assembly, 951-10909A for the fan, and 951-10911. Here's the list prices. So it's about $93 plus tax here in Connecticut, just about $100, 99 and change. So about $100 for these three parts. Now it needed a wear edge as well, and I have an old wear edge from something I disassembled years ago, which is in perfect shape. So instead of spending like $30, $40 on an MTD wear edge, I'm just gonna use that one. So we're gonna take this thing, we're gonna have to take the gas tank off and get all the stuff aside. We're gonna have to rebuild the carb anyway because it's hunting a little bit. So I'll disassemble that. We'll take everything off of it to get to the shroud. We'll take the shroud off so we can put the fan on. So let me do all that. It doesn't look like it's a lot of work, but you know, the gas tank's got 2 screws on there, and then we got to take the muffler cover and all that. So let me get to that, and then I will be right back, and let's see what we got to go. All right, guys, basically there's 2 10mm hex head nuts on here I had to take off. Okay, you have the 2 Phillips screws on the starter, then that comes off. There's a cover on here, Phillips head, that comes off. You have your 10mm screws on the muffler shield. But look at all this stuff in here. Look at all that hair and debris, and oh my God, look at all that crap in there. Wow, and look at the hose. Look at the hose for the purge, you know, for the primer. It's all cracked and busted up. So that has to be replaced. I'll replace that hose, but look at all the dirt in there, my God. That has, look at that, it's all, looks like dog hair or something. I'm gonna have to blow that out, clean that out, and get it set. Now, some people don't take this muffler cover off. I like to take it off, but in order to take that off, you have to take off the belt guard, and there's 2 1/2-inch screws that hold this bracket on. You have to take those out, then you can tilt the bracket back to access the screw that's down here. There's 1 screw that holds on that cover, but it's behind that bracket. So I'm gonna take that off. I'll show you when I have it off. I'll show you what I did, but look at all the mess in there. Let me take off that muffler cover and let me blow out all the crap in there, and then we'll go from there. But man, this thing is messy, messy, messy. All right, be right back. Here are the 2 1/2-inch screws, 1/2-inch head screws that are under the cover. You take those off, you can tilt this bracket back. And when you tilt that bracket back, you can take off the last screw that's under here to hold this cover on. I want to take that cover off just to make everything accessible so I could see it. I want to make sure I'm cleaning everything out, getting all that dog hair and everything out of here, because this thing been left outside. It's pretty nasty. I want to make sure I get everything cleaned. You can even see dog hair down here. So I want to see what's behind all that. So let me take out those 2 screws. I'll tilt this back. I'll take off the muffler cover, and let's see what we have underneath. Look at all this hair. There is like hair everywhere. I don't know if the mice got in there and brought all the hair from the dogs or what, but man, it looks like to take the shroud off to put the fan in, I got a screw here. I'll see what's behind here, and I got 2 screws in the bottom, similar to a Honda engine. But I see the screw up here, that's gonna have to come out. So let me take the carburetor off. I'll pull the shroud off. I have to replace this cup and replace that fan. Once I do that and put that back on, it's basically a carb clean. Slap it back together. New hose for the primer, of course. But maybe I won't take off that thing. I know there were a couple channels out there. I'll put the link in there. One guy did this repair yesterday, and he didn't take that cover off. It is a pain to take the cover off. I actually have to take 3 screws off instead of just 2. So maybe I'll keep it on and just have it tilted back. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But at this point, got to get all that hair out of there. Got to get the shroud off. Got to get the fan on. And got to get the cup on. What I will do, though, that fuel outlet fitting has a filter on the end of it. This thing's been sitting, so I'm going to take that off just to see what it looks like and make sure it's clean, and clean it if it needs to. But that screws in, and there's a rubber gasket built into it. So I'll take that off, and we'll go from there. All right, we'll be back shortly. Yeah, this top screw in the shroud, a little bit of a pain in the butt. 7mm, it holds on like governor linkage, but it has to come out before you can get the shroud out. You got the 2 screws on the bottom, 10mm hex, the one on the side here, 10mm hex, and then this 7mm on top. Then the shroud, you should be able to lift it out so I could replace that starter cup and the fan. Holy cow, look at all that hair. Here's part of the fin that busted off the fan. I don't know, look at all that hair. My God. The mice were definitely in here. I don't see, I mean, this was their nest, but look at that. There's hair everywhere. In the starter, under the tank, in the governor, next to the carburetor. This thing is just full of hair. Gosh. Lucky he didn't chew any of the wires, but man, look at all that hair. All right, let me clean her out, blow her out, and I'll be right back, and I'll show you what it's really supposed to look like. Well, here's what's left of the fan. That's it. So let's compare it to new. That's what's there. All right. And there's new. So that mouse ate all that stuff, ate all of it, okay? You can see, he got claw marks and teeth marks. He ate it all up, and by eating it all up, he screwed up the recoil. The recoil exploded when he tried to use it or when the engine was running, and blew it to bits. I got a whole pile of hair and fins and everything else I took out of this thing. Unbelievable, unbelievable. All right, let me blow this thing out of here, get it cleaned up. Then the fan goes on like that, fits in. Then the starter cup, we got the new starter cup. It's got a locating pin right there. And we put the nut on it, and we will get that snugged up. But let me blow this thing out. Let me get it clean. Then I'll show you what it looks like clean. We still got to take that the fuel nipple out, check the filter on that, and hopefully we'll get this thing back together. We'll have to clean the carb as well, but gosh, that mouse did some serious work. All right, we'll be back, guys. All right, I unscrewed the fuel nipple, which has the filter on it, from the bottom of the tank. It looks okay. Keep in mind, guys, there's a rubber gasket on that. You don't need Teflon tape. I see some white stuff, but you don't need Teflon tape or anything on this. That rubber donut will seal it, okay? You don't need Teflon tape, all right? So that's good. The fuel line looks good. I'm just going to clean it up. It's still supple and everything, so I'll reuse that. Now it's time to blow this thing off, see what I got. But man, what a mess. What a mess. There's plastic parts all over this thing. I keep finding fins, part of fins all over the place. Crazy. I just want to make sure I get them all because I want that thing to cool. I want the shroud to do its job. So let me blow it out and get it as best as I can. I ended up removing the coil because I saw this on the side of it. Melted plastic. Oh, hold on, let me get the camera better for you. Where is it? Melted plastic and hair next to the coil mount. Plastic and hair. So coil's off so I can get underneath here and get to this, blow it out, get it clean. I gotta get all this crap out of here. All right, be back. All right, she's all clean. The coil's back on, business card to adjust it. Doesn't look like there's any other chewed through wires, so you could see where he was in there a little bit, but everything looks pretty good. So we're gonna put the cover back on. We'll put the fuel fitting in first because that's a pain to do with the cover on. So we'll screw that back in. We'll put the cover on, then it's off to clean the carburetor and then slap her back together. Man, what a job. This is gonna be a little bit costly for the guy, but you know what? All that stuff had to come out of there. All right, we'll be right back. One thing to note when you're putting this shroud back on, that piece there, that tab that goes in the back, there's a governor spring in there. See that governor spring? You have to make sure that tab goes under the governor spring. If you try and push this in, you're gonna just push on that governor spring and destroy it. So that tab back there has to go underneath the governor spring and then go in. Then you can put on your 4 screws and send her home and put on that little screw up top. Then we can put the recoil on and then we can get the carb clean, then we can get it going. This job will end, but trust me, it will end. All right, be right back. All right, this carburetor was hunting. So basically, that means the pilot jet hole is usually clogged. So I've got thumb drills, all right, down to, tiny, okay? And I believe what I normally do is I just start with the pink. All right, I'll take out the first pink drill, very, very, very tiny. I'll go on the end. Oh, oh, it sucks working outside, folks. All right, let's try that again. Let's get you situated on the tripod. Come on. All right. I start out with the pink, the very tiny pink. See if you can see it. And I go in there. Oh. The pink works good for me. It was a little tight in there. So I'm gonna go in there. It goes in, but it's a little tight. All right, so take out the pink. The purple is smaller. So let's go to the purple. Purple. Yeah, see, purple goes in no problem. It's clear, now it's clear. So let me go up one more size in purple. Usually the pink works, but you're basically just using this to remount the hole. The hole is clear, but I try and take it a little bit bigger, maybe a few thou. I think I go to 17 thousandths, and that usually makes it nice and good. All right, these are a little bit small, so I'm gonna go back to the pink. that's about the best I'm going to get it. So it's clear. So I'm going to put that pilot jet back into the carburetor, slap that carburetor back into the snowblower, and let's see if it starts up. Be right back. All right, guys, this thing has an auger that's hitting. I want to figure out which one it is. So what you do, you loosen up the shear bolt on the auger that you think it is. Take out the shear bolt, the shear pin in this case. That thing is on there. Wow. That shear bolt is in there. This is the one that's banging. So I gotta bend it out of the way. So what I do is I use a pair of but normally you knock the shear pin out, you could spin it and see if it's doing that, but I need a punch to punch that out. I'll be right back. That's a better look over here. I gotta knock out this shear pin so I can spin this auger around to see why it's hitting and correct it. I'll put a new shear pin in. All right, now, that's it. It's hitting, all right. Wow, look at that shear pin. That thing is all buggered up. All right, it's hitting right there. So we gotta bend it out of the way. Nope. Watch my arm. Wow, still bending. Oh, I'm gonna have to get out the big wrench and whip it over there. You can see it's worn. Look at it. It's been hitting the pavement because it's all bent. It destroyed the wear edge. So let me get a bigger plier and I'll bend it over and I'll be right back. All right. It took a little bit of hammer action, but here you go. No more hitting. All right, we're good to go. Be back in a minute. All right, guys, we're back. This is the last part of this video series on this snow blower. The last thing that's left on this Troy-Bilt is the wear edge or the scraper bar on the bottom. I have the shoes on the side I have to do too, but the scraper bar that was on there was pretty mangled. You can look at it here. Look how worn that is. It's pretty worn out. So I went online, and MTD, of course, for that scraper bar wants about $35. So I went aftermarket, and if you look, I mean, the quality's there in the aftermarket, guys. You can't complain about aftermarket. You know, the hole's a little bit bigger on the end there, but who cares? It's going to fit in. It's going to work. But basically, $25 versus $35 shipped to my house. You know, I can't complain. So we're going to get this thing put on. Tractor Supply. If you look at the bolts, these are 5/16 18 carriage bolts that you use on the skid shoes and on the scraper bar. They want $3.59 a piece from MTD, and they also want $1 or $2 for the lock nuts. Well, you know what? Tractor Supply, for about $1.25, I got about 20 of them. All right, and the lock nuts, well, I have a container of nylock nuts, and it's got all different sizes in there, and I know I got a bunch of 5/16 18. This whole thing, I think I paid $3 for like 50 of them. So yeah, a lot cheaper than buying MTD direct. So hardware, scraper bar, generic stuff like that, buy the generic. It's fine, it'll work good. So let me get set up, and we'll get that scraper bar on there, and we'll get the skid shoes on, and then we'll be able to deliver this and get our money, because this guy's gonna owe me a bunch of money. All right, we'll talk to you in a bit. All right, the first thing you do is make sure there's no burrs. There was a lot of burrs right here, okay, raised portions. You want the bottom where this wear edge rests to be nice and flat. There was a lot of burrs from where that other one was worn away, so grind down all the burrs so you have a nice flat surface for this new one to rest on. The new one goes right up in here, like that, goes right up inside there. Oop, there you go. It goes right up inside there. I'm gonna put it in there. We'll put the screws in, and we'll be right back. Is that even out of focus? I hope not. See, it goes in there like that. Okay, then you put your screws in, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Okay, the MTD factory wear edges, they mount on the outside, and then they go onto the inside, and they line up with the existing holes. You have the square holes in the wear edge on top. That way your carriage bolt can locate with the rounded part of the carriage bolt inside the machine with less protrusion, less sticking up. All right, so I'm going to put the carriage bolts in. I'll put the nuts on them. I'll show you what it looks like. But the bolts go with the rounded head inside pointing out, so the carriage bolt can take advantage of the square hole so it won't rotate when you lock down the nuts. All right, be right back. Okay, all the carriage bolts are installed. The ones on the side are a little long, so I like to cut them flush. So I just use a hacksaw and I cut it flush. That way when you're walking by, you don't get your pant leg or something caught. I don't like when bolts stick out, they get caught. So like I said, all the carriage bolts are installed. Smooth side is in. The nylock nuts are on the back, a 7/16 socket. Tighten them down. I just have to cut this one off here. And then this thing, basically, I just have to do the skid shoe. There's a skid shoe repair I'm gonna do. And then she's all set. We'll be right back. All right, here's a tip on skid shoes. These things from MTD are over $20 a piece. That's crazy. Now this one here, yeah, there's enough on it to last another season. But if you can tell, there's a lot of wear here, which means that was toward the front of the snowblower where it got all the first contact. So I'll use that on the left side of the snowblower so the thicker portion of it gets the first contact, okay? But this one here, not much left. Nothing left, actually. I'm gonna knock down those corners, all right? And then I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna bend it at about a 1/2 inch, 90 degrees, and that'll give me a skid shoe. And when this one wears off after a year or so, I'll do the same thing. I'll bend it on the end, reattach it upside down. There's your skid shoe. Why spend 40, 50 bucks? Spend nothing. All right, guys, be back in a minute. All right, here you go, guys. The old one I'm gonna reuse and the new one I bent up. I'm just gonna bolt it on, and there's a new skid shoe for the other side. You know what it cost me? Goose egg, nothing. And next year when this one wears off, I'll bend the other side like this. There's another skid shoe. It does the same purpose. It's the same thickness. There you go. Nice and easy. Quick tip, make your own skid shoes out of the old ones. All right, we'll talk to you later. All right, guys, even Ken Small Engine makes a mistake once in a while. See that front carriage bolt hole? I thought the skid shoes went in the first two holes. Well, the first two holes are about 1/8 of an inch narrower than the back two holes. I didn't look back at the video to see which holes they went in. They actually go in the back two holes. So there's an extra hole on there, and I believe that's for when you buy the foot-long shoe made out of plastic. It uses all 3 of those screws. When you use the standard steel shoes like this, it just uses the back 2. So don't make that mistake and use the front one. You'll drive yourself crazy saying, why aren't they fitting? So you get yourself something flat, because my driveway's not real flat. You get a nice flat board. You put the paint stirring stick underneath the scraper, because you want about 1/8 of an inch gap from the driveway to the scraper bar. Then you set your skid shoes on it. You can do this in a driveway if it's flat, or in a garage if it's flat. I don't have anything real flat, so I use a flat board. All right, so that's how you adjust them. This way, those augers won't be scraping the driveway. You'll have 1/8 of an inch gap. It'll just push the snow in, and boom. You can see how this guy's been scraping his driveway. All the augers are shiny and got burrs on them, so I'll take those burrs off. All right, well, that's it for me, guys. I got to air up the tires on this thing, and then basically it's ready to send back to the customer. But what a nightmare this thing was with the mouse nest and all that stuff. But it's a great running snow blower, and I tell you, he's going to be happy with it. Now it's time to call him up and give him the shock and how much it's going to cost and get my money. Hey, you got any questions, comments, let me know, guys. Please subscribe if you're not. Ring the bell. That way you'll know every time I do something on YouTube. And I do appreciate you watching, and take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Well, I guess I should check out the electric start, because I did take the starter off to do all this stuff and I put it back on. I just want to make sure the mesh is there correctly. All right, so let's give it a little gas. Let's see. Yeah, it runs good. All right, got the pull start, got the electric start. Everything's working, everything's perfect. So what did we do, guys? We put new shear pins on the front. We gave him his 4 shear pins extra. We got all that mouse nest and everything out of there. We put the skid shoes back on. We aired up the tires. Cleaned out the carburetor so it wasn't hunting. Did the oil change. Adjusted everything. Greased what needed greasing, which isn't much on these. And now he's ready to go. So questions, comments, let me know. This thing here, it's funny. You look at the price of this. Let me show you guys. This thing here that he bought a long time ago was $5.99. These are about $1,200 now if you could find them at Lowe's and Home Depot. He bought it at Lowe's for $5.99. This is a 2012, I think. So 10 years ago, he paid $5.99. These things are over $1,000 now. But you know what? Powermore engine, you know, not the biggest fan, but you know what? They run good. They work all right. So this guy will be happy. All right, guys, that's it for now. We'll talk to you soon.